Without further ado, I give you Mr. John Stoker.
Welcome, everybody. Glad to be with you today. How many of you have ever offended anybody? Hey, look at that! How many of you have ever been offended by anybody? All right, so turn to the person to your right and say, I offend people all the time. Let me illustrate. A number of years ago, I was doing a culture assessment for a utility company. When you do this kind of work, they often are bringing in a consultant because they want the results to change. And when you do a culture assessment, usually people want to improve the results. But you really don't talk about improving results unless you also look at the values that people hold and the company holds, and how those values lead to people's beliefs. Their beliefs, in turn, lead to behavior, and it's the behavior that drives results. So we look at values, beliefs, behavior, and results in an attempt to improve the way they're working. So in doing this assessment, I was interviewing all kinds of individuals, holding focus groups, and asking them a number of questions about what was going on with the company. Every group that I was in, somebody mentioned Brett Jones. And they would say things to me like, well, you know Brett Jones, he beat up one of my teammates after work who disagreed with him in a meeting. He was responsible for slashing people's tires when they didn't agree with him. Right? He just made everybody's life miserable. So I looked on my list and his name wasn't there. In short, I found that Brett Jones had more to do with the performance of this organization that was even imaginable. Right? He was impacting people's beliefs and the way they behaved and performed. So I went to the plant manager and I asked him, if you don't mind, could you schedule an interview with Brett Jones? And he said, well, why do you want to interview him? And I said, everybody seems to blame him for the quality of the results that the plant is getting. And he smiled and he said, well, I hate to tell you this. I go, what? He said, Brett Jones has been dead 8 years. Classic example of the fact that he was dead, but he was still what? Alive and well in the minds of everybody. The point is that if you really want to increase results, you can't do it without also at the same time thinking about respect for one another and the quality of the relationships that you have.